I couldn't believe the nonsense that Nikki, my wife of 7 years, had just thrown in my face. In just a few minutes, I learned just how little she thought of me. Here we are at a mountaintop resort, attending a 4-day bachelorette gala for her older sister Kirsten, who was getting ready to marry for the 3rd time. I couldn't help but wonder how she managed to sucker her current fiancé. Was it her money, or did she threaten to sue him? I figured that being a lawyer, she no doubt had him sign the mother of all prenuptial agreements, probably while undergoing some form of medieval torture. The previous day, Wednesday, we decided to take advantage of one of the public hot tubs the facility offered. Kirsten had warned there might be naked men in the hot tubs earlier that day. I thought she was just pulling our legs, but she wasn't. It seemed the hot tubs here were clothing optional. After we got in the water, I noticed the 5 guys across from us appeared to be naked. My assessment proved to be correct when they got out of the tub, dried off, and sat in their lounge chairs, not caring that they were exposing themselves to us. One guy, however, a tall, muscular man with long hair tied in a ponytail, lay on the grass next to the hot tub on his side with one leg up. I noticed Nikki staring at him, her eyes glazed. I suppose I should back up and tell you a bit about us. My name is Ned Carson, and my wife is Nikki. I'm 39 years old and she's considerably younger, having just turned 32. I used to be a police officer but was wounded in the line of duty. As a result of my injuries, I was shot several times. I was given a medical discharge. That was before I met Nikki. She was one of the physical therapists who worked with me, helping me learn to walk all over again. I still have a hard time walking very far, but I managed to get around. After my discharge, I became a private investigator. Fortunately, most of my work is done either behind a desk or in the front seat of my car, and there's very little running involved. I worked with one of the best for several years until he died of a heart attack. After his death, I took over the day-to-day operation, answering to my former boss's partner. Nikki and I dated for some time, fell in love, and got married. The first 5 years of our marriage were great. At least I thought so. A couple of years ago, however, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol. Of course, my 2-pack-a-day cigarette habit didn't help matters much. Thanks in part to the medications I had for my diabetes and cholesterol, I found that I wasn't able to perform sexually the way I used to. I even tried to quit smoking. But all that did was make me irritable. At first, Nikki said she understood, and we did the best we could. Even if I couldn't maintain an erection for very long, I still satisfied her with other things as best as I could. She seemed to enjoy it anyway, and I always made sure she was happy. But something changed in the last couple of years. Slowly but surely, Nikki went from being a sweet, caring, loving woman to a shrew that I sometimes didn't recognize, constantly ordering me around and getting short-tempered at the drop of a hat. It seemed nothing I did satisfy her anymore. To top that off, our love life in the last year dwindled to almost nothing. I did what I could to keep her happy, but it seemed that had become a lost cause. I hoped that this little trip to the mountain resort might renew the spark between us. But it was becoming clear to me that it was a lost cause. As I looked at the man deliberately exposing himself to Nikki without a care in the world, I realized that he seemed somewhat familiar to me, but I just couldn't quite place him. Earlier today, Thursday, Nikki said she was going shopping with her sister, so I decided to play golf. I got back a bit earlier than I had planned, took a shower, and dressed. I hoped to take Nikki out for dinner and dancing later, as a possible prelude to intimacy. As I was getting dressed, Nikki came bounding into the room wearing a bathrobe. Her hair was wet and she appeared flushed. She sat on the bed and regarded me for a bit. "I thought you were going shopping with Kirsten," I said. "I changed my mind. I went to the hot tub instead," she replied. "I can see that. Were there any naked men out there today?" I asked. "Oh, yes," she said with a smile. "The ponytailed guy was there. Ramon Torres is his name. He does some kind of work with a movie studio out on the West Coast. You'd really like him." That's when it hit me. I knew exactly who he was. Yes, Torres does work with a movie studio, but chances are you won't see his work on the big screen. That's because his work is a bit more seedy. I take it you gotta know this guy Ramon a bit, I said. She snorted at that. Yeah, I did. And some of his friends. I see. Did you have a good time? I asked. The best time I've had in years, she replied. Is that what you had in mind all along? I asked. Her face changed, and I could tell the shrew was back. Yes, it is, she said. I looked at her, and for a moment I had no idea who this woman was. She looked at me before continuing. You have no idea. For years you've been the only man I've ever gotten physical with, but the last 2 years have been hell on me. Here I am dying to have intimacy, but you can't even get it up half the time. You know why. All these damn medications the doctor has me on. That's not my fault. Sure it is, she said. All those years smoking, drinking, eating crap food, and lately you haven't gotten hardly any exercise. Now you're paying the price. And so am I. I need a man. Someone who doesn't cater to my every whim. I need someone who commands me to do what he wants, not a desk-bound has-been who refuses to stand up to me. I felt like I had just been punched in the gut. I couldn't believe what she was saying. I shook my head and wondered if this was all just a nightmare. She wasn't finished, however. You know what he did? She asked with a sneer. He ordered me to get naked right there in front of them all. And did you? I asked. Of course I did, she said. And did you have intimacy with them as well? I asked, already knowing the answer. She snickered as she tossed the robe off. I could see the bruises and bite marks on her body. Have intimacy? She asked sarcastically. Yes. I had intimacy with them, all of them. Why don't you come here and clean me up? You'd like that, wouldn't you? And you know what else? No, I said quietly, trying to control my rage. What? They're all on their way here right now, and they're going for a second round right here in this bed while you watch, she said. I got up and walked to the closet where I grabbed my suitcase. What are you doing? She asked. Are you going to run away like a little wimp? I took a breath before answering and counted to 10. I remembered now what it was about Ramon that set me off. It seemed he had a nasty habit of getting women hooked on intimacy and drugs. He then recruited those women to do adult videos for him. Once he was finished with them, he usually turned them out onto the streets where they eked out a miserable existence as hookers. The guys in Vice had tried several times over the years, unsuccessfully, to bring him down. If you were smart, you'd run too, I said. But you're not smart, are you? Stay and have your fling if you want, but no matter what, we're finished. Give your sister my regards. I finished packing my suitcase and headed for the door. What? You're going to just leave me? She asked, a smirk on her face. Yeah, I'm leaving. I've had it with your nonsense, and I will not be your willing humiliation husband. Goodbye. With that, I turned and walked out. As I walked down the hallway, I saw Ramon and 4 of his buddies coming down the hallway. After they passed me, I called out to him. Ramon, I called. He turned and looked at me. Yeah, what do you want? He asked. I took my wedding ring off and tossed it to him. You want her? She's yours, I said when he caught the ring. I'm done with her. He smirked and pocketed the ring. Whatever, dude, he said. He snorted and turned back the way he was going. I went out to the car, loaded up, and drove off, stopping to buy a pack of cigarettes and a 6-pack of beer. At that point, I really didn't care if I lived or died, and I figured it was either smoke or break something. 3 hours later, I was home. I had hoped Nikki would at least call and apologize, but she didn't. To hell with her, I thought to myself. It was still fairly early, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. If Nikki thought she could just have her little party and come home like nothing ever happened, she was out of her mind. I called a locksmith and arranged to have all the locks changed out on the house. I had to pay extra to have him come out late, but it was worth it to me. I grabbed a beer and sat down on my back porch with a pad of paper and made up a list of things to do. I had worked on enough cases involving cheating spouses to know how it went. Usually the husband got screwed, royally, while the wife ended up with half of everything. I also knew that I would not be able to file on the grounds of adultery, thanks to this being a no-fault state. After making my list, I drank a couple more beers and smoked a few more cigarettes. Eventually, I went to bed, hoping to wake up and find this was all just a horrible nightmare. But that didn't happen. The next morning, I got up and checked my phone, hoping against hope that Nikki would have come to her senses. But she didn't. There were no calls, no text messages, nothing. I downed a cup of coffee and called Nick Parsons, one of the main lawyers we did work for. After telling him what happened, he promised to work up the papers for divorce. We decided to have her served at her place of work on Monday for maximum impact. "You know the drill, Ned," he told me. "Don't do anything stupid." "You know me, Nick," I told him. "Yeah, I do. And that's why I'm telling you not to do anything stupid. Talk to your boss and see if he can get someone out there to put eyes on your wife and Ramon. I don't want you involved in this at all. You got me? Stay as far away from it as you can." "Yeah, I got it," I said. We ended the call and I dialed my boss, Paul Drake. "Hey, Ned. I thought you and that lovely wife of yours were up in the mountains. What's going on? Everything all right?" "No, Paul, it's not," I said. He listened as I told him my story. "I'm sorry to hear that. You want me to get someone up there to keep an eye on things?" "Yeah, that'd be great," I said, "but it has to be someone Nikki doesn't know." "I got it under control. I have been doing this for a while, you know. Do as Nick says and stay out of it for your own good. I'll get someone up there ASAP." "Thanks, Paul, I appreciate it," I said as we ended the call. From there, it was off to the bank to take care of our accounts. I took out half and canceled her credit card. I thought about canceling her ATM card, but decided to leave it so we could keep track of any changes she might make to it. I did reduce the amount she could pull out on a daily basis, however. Once I finished that, I went to another bank and opened an account in my name only. I stopped at a diner and wolfed down a pastrami sandwich, then headed home. There really wasn't much more I could do but sit and wait. After a while, I decided it was time for me to take inventory of myself. I had to do something. I stepped on my scale in the bathroom and took note of my weight, 215 pounds. Then I looked at myself in the mirror. I still had a full head of hair, but I had developed something of a gut. And the muscles I used to have when I was in uniform had mostly turned to flab. No wonder Nikki didn't want to have intimacy with me anymore, I thought. Hell, I wouldn't want to have intimacy with me at this point. I remember the doctor telling me my diabetes would be easier to manage if I could get my weight below 200. He even gave me a dietary guide, but I had largely ignored it, thinking I was just too young for this sort of thing. Now, however, I had second thoughts. Maybe in a way, Nikki was right. I had let myself get into this condition. But damn it, she didn't have to do what she did. If she really loved me, I reasoned, she would have said something before now. I decided right then and there things would change. Grabbing a phone book and my pack of smokes, I headed for the back porch and looked up gyms. I found one or two and decided to check them out. I was getting ready to leave when my phone rang. I saw it was a number I didn't recognize, but answered anyway. "Carson," I said after answering. There was a female voice at the other end. "Ned, where are you?" the woman asked. I recognized Kirsten's voice. We hadn't spoken much in the past, and I was a bit surprised that she called. "Nikki told me you left last night." "Yeah, I left last night." "Why?" "Well, we were just wondering what happened. Nikki looks like she is having fun. I've never seen her in such a state. Then she told me you two had a fight and you left. What happened?" "Maybe you should have her tell you," I said. "Is everything all right between you two?" "No, it's not. Tell me, were you aware that Ramon Torres and his crew are at the resort?" "Of course. They're providing the entertainment for our bachelorette party. I also had them bring a camera crew." "Why?" "Oh, nothing. So you know the business he's in, right?" "Yeah, I know. He came highly recommended." Did Nikki know as well? I asked. Yeah, she knew. I told her. Frankly, I was a bit surprised when you showed up. This was just supposed to be a girls' thing, you know. But I figured if you two were into this thing, it wasn't really any of my business. So you knew she intended to humiliate me? I asked. Yeah, we all did. I thought, to each his own. Why? Is there a problem? Nothing I can't deal with, I said, not wanting to tip my hand. Do you want me to have Nikki call you? She asked. No need. All right. Listen, just let her have this, okay? I know she still loves you. When she's finished, she'll come back to you. It's only intimacy after all. No, it's not. It was a cold-hearted, cruel, calculated betrayal, and you helped facilitate it. Oh, please, get off your high horse. It's just a weekend. You are coming back to pick her up on Sunday, aren't you? No, she can find her own way back, but she won't be welcome. I could hear Kirsten gasp when I said that, but I really didn't care. To hell with all of them, I thought. Goodbye, Kirsten, I added, ending the call. So, Nikki knew all along this was going to happen and had even planned it out in advance just to humiliate me. I felt like punching a hole in the wall. I went to a gym instead and spent time punching a bag, imagining it was Nikki and Ramon. I punched until I had no more strength in my arms and finally took a shower. You okay, Mac? I heard a man ask as I dressed. I looked and saw one of the trainers standing there. Not really, but thanks for asking, I said. I saw you out there on that punching bag. I thought you were going to end up hurting yourself. Want to talk about it? What the hell, I thought. I sat down and took a breath. He sat down on the bench and waited patiently. I ended up telling him the whole story. I'm sorry to hear that, Mac, he said. Please call me Ned. Okay, Ned. Look, if you want to get back in shape, I can help you. But it sounds to me like you need to do more than just lose weight. If you like, I can recommend a good counselor. I looked at him and thought for a moment before answering. I realized he was right. I was a mess, both physically and emotionally. What the hell? Looks like I can use all the help I can get. He laughed and handed me a card. Rose Carlson, counselor, it read. Give her a call. She's damn good, especially in cases like yours. Yeah, I'll do that, I replied. In the meantime, I couldn't help but notice you tend to favor your right leg, he said. I explained my injuries from the shooting. He listened and nodded his head. I can help you with that if you'd like. We can also help you with your diet and exercise regimen, but you'll have to commit to a long-term program. We have people here who specialize in people with diabetes. Are you willing to do that? I thought about it before answering. Yeah, I said, nodding my head. I knew I had to do something, and fast. Good. Come on, let's get you signed up. By the way, my name is John Green. He held out a hand, and I accepted it. Ned Carson, I replied. Carson, he repeated. I've heard that name before. Wait, I remember now. You were the cop who saved my grandmother's life in that bank robbery. That was what, 8 years ago or so? That was the robbery where I had been shot. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. How is your grandmother, by the way? I asked. She's doing quite well. Thank you for asking. He took me to the front desk and signed me up for a program he said would help me lose weight and regain my strength. He introduced me to several of his colleagues as the cop who saved his grandmother's life, and they all thanked me for my service. Listen, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, he said when we finished. And please make sure you contact Rose. I will, John. Thanks for everything. I left the gym feeling better than I had in some time. It felt good to be appreciated by someone for a change. When I got home, I called Rose and made an appointment for the following Tuesday. I held out some hope that Nikki might call or text, but she never did. I did get a call from Paul, who told me they had an operative on site who would record her activity and report directly to him. I thanked him and informed him of my appointment with Rose. Good. I'm glad to see you're taking positive action, Ned. Take whatever time you need to deal with this. I'll fill you in when I get something from our guy at the resort. You just take it easy now. You hear me? Yeah, I hear you, I told him. We ended the call and I tried to relax, but found it next to impossible. A part of me wanted to go out and drown my sorrows in a bottle, but the rational side of me said, no. I waited in agony for the rest of the weekend, but heard nothing from anyone until Sunday about 10 a.m. Paul contacted me to say that Nikki left with Ramon and his crew that morning. It seems she was quite busy over the weekend. We've got video, audio, pics, the works. I'll get this all over to Nick and make a copy for you in case you want to see it. Do you know where they went? I asked. No idea. They left about 9 a.m. Okay. That means she should be here around 12 or so. Assuming that she's coming home, Paul said. Yeah, I said in agreement. Stay in touch. Let me know if she shows up, he told me. I will, I told him, ending the call. I decided to take a chance and dialed Nikki's number. Unfortunately, it went straight to voicemail. Nikki, call me when you get this message. I know you've left the resort. Call me. I ended the call and dialed Kirsten's number. She answered after the third ring. Kirsten, this is Ned. Yeah, I know. You missed one hell of a party, Ned. Somehow I don't think I really missed much. I understand Nikki left with Ramon. Yeah, they left earlier this morning, she said. Do you know where they were going? I asked. No idea. I'm not my sister's keeper. I assumed they were heading to your place, but I don't know for sure. Don't you care if she's coming home or not? I asked. Hey, don't get snippy with me. Nikki's a grown-up woman and she can do whatever she wants and go wherever she wants, with whomever she wants. If she chooses not to go home, that's not my problem. Now buzz off. With that, she ended the call. I put my phone back in my pocket and sat in the front room, waiting. It's amazing how slowly time goes by when you're watching the clock. The minutes ticked by slowly. Soon enough, 12 came and went with no sign of Nikki. I waited anxiously, but nothing. An hour later, there was still no sign of Nikki and still no response to my voicemail. I pulled up the phone finder app on my cell and tried to find her with that, but to no avail. Apparently, she turned her phone off and removed the battery so I couldn't track her. I fired up my computer and checked my email. Nothing. I continued to wait, and wait, and wait some more. She still hadn't shown up by 6 p.m., and I assumed that she either wasn't coming home or had gotten into an accident on the way. I reached out to Paul, who made some calls only to learn that she hadn't been checked into a hospital, and as far as he could tell, hadn't been stopped by police along the way. I had an idea and went back to my computer. I figured that if she had used her ATM card, I would see it reflected on our account. Pulling up the online register, I saw a $200 withdrawal had been made at an airport fairly close to the resort at about 9:45 a.m. That was the daily limit I had set her card to on Friday. Based on that bit of information, I figured she decided to fly off with Ramon and his gang, but to where? Opening up another browser window, I checked for flights out of that airport and saw one that had left for Los Angeles at 11. I also saw flights for Miami, San Francisco, Dallas, and Seattle at about the same time. I knew Ramon was based on the West Coast, so I figured that was where she was headed, but I wouldn't be certain until she used the card again. I called Paul and filled him in. I guess we'll have to wait until she uses her card again, he said. That won't be until sometime tomorrow at the earliest, and she could be anywhere by then. Have you considered reporting her missing? He asked. Police won't do anything until she's been gone at least 24 hours. Then there's nothing we can do but wait, he said. Is there anything in the transcript of the videos that indicates where she might be going? I asked. I suppose if we comb through it line by line, we might be able to find something. You want to try tackling that? I've got to do something. There has to be something that indicates where she's at. All right, come on over to my place and we can start going through it if you want. But I gotta tell you, what I've seen of this isn't pretty. he said. I don't care about that. I need to know where she's going or if she's even coming back. Well, come on over then, he said. We ended the call, and I drove to Paul's house as fast as I legally could. When I got there, his wife, Donna, answered the door and let me in. Can I get you something to drink, Ned? Coffee, maybe? Or would you prefer a beer? She asked. I need my wits about me. Coffee would be perfect, please. All right. Paul's in his office, so go right on in. I went into Paul's home office and saw him reading through a fairly thick set of papers. He looked up when I came in. Come in, Ned. Here, take this and see what you can find. He handed me a thick sheaf of papers and I sat down to read through them. He was right. This wasn't pretty at all. Most of it was Nicky begging to be destroyed faster, and there was a lot of commentary from Ramon and his gang regarding the quality of her body. Most of it was pretty sickening and juvenile in my opinion. I also couldn't help but notice the obligatory abuse heaped upon me by Nicky and her lovers. Too bad your loser husband was too chicken to stick around, Ramon said. Yeah, well, that's his loss, Nicky said. He's never touching me again. He gave me his ring on his way out, Ramon told her. Said you were all mine now and he was through with you. Maybe I'll pee on it for old time's sake, she said. At that moment, I wondered what it was I had ever seen in her. Good riddance to bad garbage, I thought. We kept looking through the transcripts trying to find a clue. Suddenly, Paul yelled out, Wait, I think I found something. What? I asked. This was late Saturday night, about 11:45 p.m. Here, read this. Tell me what you think. I took the transcript from him and began reading a few lines above where he indicated to get better context. God, this is the best body we've had in a while, boss, said one of Ramon's flunkies. We could make a ton off this body. Think so? Ramon asked. Oh, yeah, another flunky said. What about it? You up to making some real money with this fine body of yours? I'm not that kind of girl, Nicky said. Nah, baby, I'm talking movies, online videos, Ramon said. You got a killer body and a pretty face. All you gotta do is what you're doing right now. You're a natural at this. I've been thinking of a whole new line of humiliation videos and you'd be perfect. Yeah? When would I get to start? She asked. We can leave right after the party here if you want. We'll set you up with a nice apartment in L.A. and you work strictly for me. Of course, I get a cut of everything, but you could make a hell of a lot of money if you do enough videos. Can I get more of that white stuff you gave me earlier, and some of that ecstasy? She asked. All you want, baby. You mean I get to do this and I get paid, and I get to humiliate losers like Ned? That's right, Ramon said. Count me in, she replied. What about your loser husband? One of the flunkies asked. You gonna tell him? Forget him. He's history. He'll never see me again. When do we leave? Tomorrow morning, Ramon said. We leave here at 9 a.m., go to the airport, then fly out west. Let's do it, she replied. I handed the transcript back to Paul. We got this on video? I asked him. Yeah, let me just get the disc and cue it up, he said. He pulled out one of the discs and inserted it into his computer, then started the video, forwarding it to the timestamp in the transcript. He looked at me before starting. You ready for this? He asked. Let's get it over with, I said. He started the video, and I could see it was taken through the window of the room Nicky and I had. Ramon was next to her, and they were surrounded by his flunkies, one of whom held a camera. Next to them was a tray holding a few lines of what looked like coke. I could tell from the way she was acting that she was high on something, perhaps coke. I looked to see if I could spot anyone else, but I couldn't. I would not have been surprised to see Nicky's sister in the middle of all this. We watched the video, following along with the transcript. I've seen enough, I said, disgusted. Turn it off. Paul turned the video off and looked at me. Well? He asked. She's clearly doing this of her own volition, even though she's high on coke and God only knows what else. So kidnapping's out of the question. And I didn't see Kirsten anywhere in this video, so it's doubtful she knows anything. Even if she did, she wouldn't say. But we still have to make a good faith effort to locate her so we can have her served. You know anyone out in L.A.? Please, Ned. You know I have contacts all over the place. I'll make some calls, see what we can come up with. When you find her, let me know, please. I want to be the one who serves her papers. No way, Ned. Not gonna happen. I know you've been hurt bad, but you are not to get any deeper in this than you already are. I know you. You'd do something stupid and I'd have to fly out there to get you out of jail. You stay right here. Let Nick and I take care of this. So help me. I'll have your license pulled if you even think about going. Okay, I said, putting my hands up. I'll be a good boy, promise. Damn well better. Let me make some calls, then I'll get with Nick. Don't worry, I'll make sure you stay in the loop. Now go on home, drink a beer, relax, watch some TV. In fact, why don't you take a few days vacation? I can't do that, Paul. I have things to do. I got it under control, Paul said. Consider this an order. You're on vacation. Effective immediately. All right, I'm on vacation. I'll be a good boy and go home. We shook hands and I headed out, thanking Donna for the coffee. I thought again about getting a beer, but changed my mind and drove home. It was a good thing, since I heard the house phone ring just as I walked into the front room. Hello, I said when I answered. After seeing Kirsten's number come up, I pressed the button on my machine to record the call. Hello, Ned. This is Kirsten. Yes, I know. And you should know I'm recording this conversation. I hope you don't mind. Not at all. If I were in your shoes, I'd probably do the same. What do you want, Kirsten? I asked. I just heard from Nikki. She's asked me to represent her in the event you file divorce papers against her. Do you know where she is? I asked. She tells me she's in Miami at the moment, but she'll be moving around a lot and probably won't be back anytime soon. Miami? I asked. I knew she was either lying or had been lied to. That's right. At least that's what she said. She tells me you will probably divorce her. Is that true? Papers are being drawn up as we speak, I replied. When they're ready, have them sent to me. I'll email you my address. I'll pass that on. Did you know she intended to leave me to be an adult video actress for Ramon Torres? No, Ned, I didn't. I know you don't think too highly of me, but that's the God's honest truth. I thought she was just going to have intimacy with him to make you jealous enough to do something, but I didn't know she would leave you. I was shocked when she told me. I happen to know you're basically a good man, Ned, so please accept my apologies. Did you know about the drugs he used on her? The coke and ecstasy? Well, I knew about the ecstasy, but not about the coke. We all took some of the ecstasy that night, but I saw no coke. You know what he does to the girls he recruits, right? I asked. He makes adult films. He decided to start a new series featuring more women like Nikki. But I didn't know he had his sights on her. You didn't answer my question, counselor. Do you know what he does to them? I'm not following you, she said. Don't play dumb with me, Kirsten. He uses them up, burns them out, then tosses them to the streets where they're forced into street work to get their next fix. That's what's in store for your sister. How long do you think she'll last? Is this concern on your part? She asked. Oh, please. As much as I hate her right now, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Not even you. Where's your concern for your sister? Not that it's any of your business, but I'll take her in myself before I let that happen to her, she said. Make sure she knows that. From what I know about him, he'll probably be done with her in 5 years. Maybe less. I hope you have a spare room handy. You don't need to worry about the size of my accommodations. All I need to know is what you're going for in your divorce, she answered. You'll find out soon enough, counselor. Very well. Is there a message you wish me to pass on to Nikki? No, I have nothing to say to her at the moment. Well then, I guess we have nothing further to discuss, Ned. Again, I'm sorry this happened. Have your attorney send the papers to me directly. Any communication will be through us. Goodbye, Ned. We ended the call and I stopped the recording. I called Nick and told him what she said. Representing her own sister? after facilitating her actions? Wow. Isn't that unethical? I asked. No, not at all, Nick said. But in my humble opinion, it doesn't look very good. We'll send Kirsten a copy of the papers, but I want to see if we can track your wife down and serve her personally. There's too much of a chance Kirsten will conveniently not get the papers to her sister, then argue that she was never properly served. You think she'd actually do that? I asked. Oh yeah. You'd be amazed at some of the things I've seen her do. I'll talk with Paul, see if we can locate Nikki. If not, we'll do what's called a divorce by publication. What's that? I asked. Well, when a spouse leaves and can't be located, we can pay to publish the document in a newspaper where she's most likely to see it at least once a week for 4 weeks. If it turns out she's in the Los Angeles area, as we believe, we'll run it both here and in the LA Times. That way, we can show the court we've jumped through all the necessary hoops to have her served. That's in addition to sending a copy of the paperwork to Kirsten, right? I asked. Absolutely. Just because we send it to her doesn't mean that Nikki will get served, Nick said. We talked for a while longer before ending the call. I grabbed a bite to eat, smoked a cigarette, then headed to bed. Over the course of the next few weeks, we had monitored Nikki's ATM card usage and determined that she was most likely in the area of Long Beach, California. Paul reached out to his contact in Los Angeles and learned that investigators had spotted her in several nightclubs where she did stage performances, but they were never able to pin her residence down to one specific place. Pat Silva, Nikki's supervisor at the clinic where she worked as a therapist, called to ask about her since she hadn't bothered to report for work. I calmly told her that Nikki had decided upon a career change. What do you mean a career change? Pat asked. You haven't heard? She's decided to go into the adult videos business. What? Pat asked, incredulous. Yes, she wants to be a drug-addicted adult video star. She's somewhere in Southern California pursuing her dream even as we speak. I'm surprised she didn't tell you. Ned, you'd better not be pulling my leg, Pat said. I'm sorry, but it's true. So she's not coming back then? Pat asked. I'd be very surprised if she does. Okay. I'll process her final pay and get it out. Is there an address I can send this to? For now, you can just mail it here. I'll get it to her attorney. Okay, Ned. I'm sorry to hear about this. We'll miss her. Thanks, Pat, I said, ending the call. I got Nikki's final pay and forwarded it to Kirsten as promised. I don't know if she ever got it to Nikki. Frankly, I didn't care. I started my counseling sessions with Dr. Carlson Rose. She was a very good counselor and listened to what I had to say. At first, I thought she would give me a bunch of psychobabble, or maybe even blame me for what Nikki did. But she didn't, much to my surprise. By the end of the first month, I was beginning to feel much better about myself. My time at the gym was also quite helpful. I had managed to lose a few pounds and had developed a diet that I could actually live with. John helped considerably, and soon I could see the old me start to reappear in the mirror. Nick had been busy as well. After drawing up the heavily one-sided petition for divorce, he published it in the local paper and in the LA Times, twice a week for 4 weeks. Toward the end of the 4th week, he sent a courtesy copy to Kirsten, who wasn't very happy. She demanded a meeting with myself and Nick as soon as possible. What the hell is the meaning of this? She demanded when we met in his conference room. This is an insult. It's not a petition for divorce. Where the hell do you get off by demanding a 75-25 split, with no support? The real insult is what your client did to her husband, with your help, I might add. Since your client decided to abandon the marriage, my client and I both feel this is the most appropriate response. She hasn't even bothered to make arrangements to get her things out of my client's home. My client hasn't even been served with papers yet, Kirsten hissed. That's because your client has been hiding in the Los Angeles area. Since we don't have an address for her, and you haven't been very cooperative about informing us of your client's whereabouts, we decided to do a divorce by publication. The 4th announcement has just been published in both the local paper and the Los Angeles Times. I'm going to fight this, you know, she growled. Suit yourself, Nick said. And fight, she did. She filed motions that went nowhere and demanded counseling, which the judge reluctantly agreed to order. I was shocked when Nick told me. Don't worry about it. Judge Potter hates cheaters and loves cops. Kirsten thinks she's in the driver's seat, but in reality, she's giving Nikki just enough rope to hang herself. What do you mean? I asked. Chances are Nikki won't show up for the counseling session. Judge Potter hates it when people don't obey his orders. When that happens, he'll probably issue a bench warrant for her arrest. Now that I'd like to see, I told him. I showed up at the court-appointed counselor's office right on time, and of course, Nikki wasn't there. I knew the counselor, Judy McGregor, as she was the police counselor who worked with me after I had been shot. We spent the hour catching up, and she listened as I told my story. So, I take it there's no way you can see yourself reconciling with your wife? She asked. None whatsoever, I replied. All right, I'll make a note of that, along with her absence, to the judge. Good luck, Ned. It was good seeing you again. From what Nick told me later, Judge Potter was livid that Nikki disobeyed his order and issued a bench warrant for her arrest. He told me the warrant was good for 5 years. We continued monitoring her ATM usage and noticed that while most of her activity was in the Long Beach area, she did use it in San Francisco a few times and in San Diego. She was quite busy, it seemed. At the same time, I performed a search and found a few short videos featuring her. I could only stand to watch them for a few minutes, and I noticed they all had the same theme. In one, for example, she had intimacy with 2 men, while another man, presumably her husband, was tied up on the floor and forced to watch. I nearly threw up when I realized that this was what she probably wanted to do to me. Finally, our court date was set. I met Nick at the courthouse, and we went inside. Looking around, I could see Kirsten, but there was no sign of Nikki. I wasn't surprised. When it was our turn to approach the bench, Nick and I took our place and watched as Kirsten sat alone at her table. Judge Potter wasn't happy to see her by herself. "And where is your client?" he asked. "She's indisposed at the moment," Kirsten said. "Indisposed? What the hell does that mean?" the judge asked. "She's on location right now," Kirsten added. "On location? She's an adult video actress, for crying out loud. What? There are no beds in this town? Is her work more important than this divorce?" "She simply couldn't get away, Your Honor," Kirsten said. Judge Potter let out a heavy sigh and contemplated the paperwork in front of him. "Very well. In light of this, I will issue yet another bench warrant, and I am prepared to rule on the divorce before the court today." "But, Your Honor, we still have motions to present," Kirsten said. "I've seen all I need to see, Counselor," the judge said, clearly irritated. He looked at both sides before proceeding. Although there are guidelines that govern what the court may award, the fact is that in this state, the bench has a great deal of leeway in determining the division of marital assets. In my deliberations, I have assessed both sides of this dispute. On one hand is a highly decorated former police officer who nearly lost his life protecting a 70-year-old grandmother. On the other hand, there is a woman whose attorney admits that she is a drug-abusing adult actress who deliberately betrayed and abandoned her husband to pursue her depraved lifestyle. On top of that, she's doing work for one of, if not the, most notorious in the business. And from what I understand, Counselor, you had a hand in facilitating some of your client's activities. I must say that disturbs me greatly. I consulted with the state bar, and they tell me there are no ethical violations, although you came awful close to crossing the line. I advise you to be more careful in the future. After reading all the filings and the counselor's report, I feel I have no choice but to grant the plaintiff's petition for divorce as filed," he said, pounding his gavel. "Good luck, Mr. Carson, and thank you for your service to this community," he added. I looked at Nick in surprise. "Did we just win?" I asked. He smiled as he looked at me. "We sure did," he said, shaking my hand. "Congratulations, Ned. You're a free man now." Kirsten gathered her things and walked over to us. "Congratulations, Ned," she said, extending a hand. "You got your pound of flesh. I hope you're happy now." I accepted her hand and shook it. I knew that losing a case like this wasn't easy for her. "No, I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for quite a while." I pulled a DVD out of my briefcase and handed it to her. "You once said if I have anything to pass on to Nikki to let you know. Here's my final message to her. You can look at it if you wish, I don't care. I also have a cashier's check for her portion of our account. I closed it out late yesterday afternoon." "I'll get this to her," she said quietly. "What's on the DVD, by the way?" "Nothing much. Just a little message for her." In fact, it was more than just a little message. The previous day, I pulled a 50-gallon drum into the backyard and set up a camera on a tripod. As the camera recorded, I filled the barrel with all of the clothes she left behind, including her $2,500 wedding dress, all of the pictures I had that included her image, and a number of little trinkets she had collected over the years. I even broke up the wedding portrait that hung over our bed and crammed it into the barrel. I doused everything in the barrel with lighter fluid and set it on fire. As it burned, I spoke into the camera. "Nikki, there was a time when I would have taken a bullet for you. I loved you with all my heart the whole time we were together, and I had hopes that we could have grown old together. Unfortunately, you had other plans, so that's not going to happen. I've seen some of your work online, and I can't help but think that's what you intended to do to me. That's not going to happen either. Don't ask if we can ever be friends. Friends don't do what you've done. And don't ask if I'll ever forgive you, because I won't. I only hope that one day you wake up and smell the coffee before it's too late." "Goodbye, Nikki," I said before walking away, leaving the camera to record the final destruction of everything she left in the house. Life went on post-Nikki. I redecorated the house, exercising everything that even reminded me a little bit of my ex-wife. I continued my counseling sessions with Rose and worked out at the gym 3 days a week. I even followed the diet plan we put together and tossed my cigarettes in the trash. A couple of months later, I weighed myself and found that I was now 185 pounds. I still had a ways to go, but I was feeling better than I had in a long time. The only thing I lacked was the female companionship I once had with Nikki. Then it happened. I was at the local market buying some groceries when I ran into her. Literally. It was an accident. I wasn't watching where I was going and bumped into her with my cart. When I realized what I had done, I apologized profusely and came face to face with the most lovely smile one can imagine. Talk about being disarmed. For a second, I forgot to breathe. Then I introduced myself and noticed she wasn't wearing any rings. She accepted my apology and told me her name was Brenda Wilkins. We got to talking, and somehow I managed to invite her out to dinner. Much to my surprise, she accepted. As it turned out, Brenda was a widowed doctor. Her husband and young son were killed in an auto accident a few years before as they were returning from a father-son camping trip. I offered my condolences and told her about my divorce from Nikki. Somewhere in all that, I mentioned my diabetes and what the medications had done to me. She nodded her head in understanding. "I've run into that before," she said. "Listen, why don't you come by my office with your meds, and let's see what we can do about that." I made the appointment and brought in all my medications. She was shocked when she saw everything. After taking some blood, she suggested making several changes, and I could feel the difference almost immediately. Of course, she explained my diet and exercise had a lot to do with it, and giving up the cigarettes was a huge help. The first time we slept together, I felt like a whole new man, and for the first time in over 2 years, I felt content. The next morning, when I woke up to Brenda's pretty face, I knew there was no way I could give this up. She smothered my face with kisses when I asked her to marry me. After the wedding, we sold our homes, pooled our money, and bought a new home in a recently developed tract. We both decided that it would be nice to have a fresh start with nothing to remind us of the past. A little more than a year after we married, Brenda gave birth to twins, a boy, Christopher, and a girl, Julie. Life went on in the Carson household, and I found that I enjoyed being a father. One day, about 10 years after we married, there was a knock on the door. I opened the door and saw Kirsten standing on the porch. She looked like she had been through a ringer. "Ned, it's good to see you again," she said. "Good to see you, Kirsten. Please, come in." She walked in and looked around. I invited her to sit down and introduced her to Brenda and the kids. "So, what brings you here, Kirsten?" I asked. "It's Nicky. You were right about Ramon." "Oh? What happened?" I asked. "It took about 5 years, but he eventually used her up just like you said he would. She ended up on the streets turning tricks to support her habit. Unfortunately, women her age don't fare too well on the street for very long. She managed on her own for quite a while, but she eventually ran out of money and became homeless. She was found unconscious in an alleyway and taken to a rehab center. I found out a few months ago and had her brought here. She's got cancer and it doesn't look like she'll last much longer." "I thought you said you'd never let her get to that point. What happened?" I asked. "We lost touch with each other about 6 years ago. The authorities in Los Angeles contacted me and I flew out to see her. She doesn't look good." "I'm sorry to hear that. So, what do you want from us?" I asked. "She wants closure. She wants to see you one last time. I know you don't think too highly of her or for me, but I was hoping you could find it in your heart to see her one last time. Please." This was new, Kirsten asking for a favor. I looked at Brenda and saw concern on her face. "What do you think?" I asked her. "Kirsten's right, dear. She needs closure. And frankly, so do you." "How bad is the cancer?" she asked Kirsten. "It's bad. It's spread through most of her body by now. Doctors said if they had caught it much earlier, they might have been able to deal with it, but it's too advanced by now. They say she could live another few months or another few hours." "Okay, I'll go see her," I replied. "I'll come with you," Brenda said. I agreed and pulled out my phone to arrange for a babysitter. Carla, a teenage girl who lived next door, often sat for us and happened to be available. After she arrived, Brenda and I left, following Kirsten. When we got to the hospital, Kirsten showed us to Nicky's room. I was shocked when I walked in. I didn't even recognize her. There were a number of tubes going into her thin, frail body, and her face was blotchy and discolored. It was as if all the beauty she once possessed had been sucked right out of her. She opened her eyes as I stood next to her bed. "Ned?" she croaked, as a tear fell down her face. "Is that really you? You look so good." "Yeah, it's me, Nicky," I said. "Oh, Ned, I'm so sorry. I messed up so bad. I messed everything up. I know you said you'd never forgive me, but I'm begging you. Please, it hurts so bad. Forgive me?" I looked at Brenda and saw a tear slide down one cheek. I knew what I had to do, and it would be the hardest thing I had ever done. I sat down and took one of her hands. It felt cold to the touch. "It's all right, Nicky. I forgive you." She broke down sobbing and grabbed my shirt with her other hand. I held her and let her cry on my shoulder. A few minutes later, a nurse came in, looked at her chart, and injected something into her IV. "This will help her get some sleep," she said before walking out. I looked and saw she was already falling asleep, so I put her head back on her pillow. "Thank you for coming in," Kirsten said. "You're welcome. How long will you be here?" I asked. "I'm staying until the end," she said quietly. "I've got my laptop and I'm working remotely. I've already made all the arrangements. There won't be a memorial service. She didn't want that." "What happened to Ramon?" I asked. She opened her purse and pulled out a folded piece of newspaper. After he turned her out, he recruited another girl. Her husband didn't take too kindly to that and killed him, rather brutally. I scanned the article quickly. The mutilated body of noted Ramon Torres was found in an abandoned Ontario warehouse Saturday morning, the article said. Mutilated? I asked Kirsten. Yeah. From what I was told, his Johnson was cut off and shoved in his mouth before he was decapitated. His arms and legs were cut off and he was disemboweled. Ouch! And they know for a fact it was the husband who did it? I asked. Yeah. He was seen walking away from the warehouse waving one of Ramon's arms. The jury found him not guilty based on temporary insanity. I can understand that. I felt like doing that to him myself. I'm sorry, Ned. For everything. Yeah, I said quietly. For what it's worth, we both felt bad after we watched that video you gave me. I never thought too much about having intimacy outside my marriage until I saw that video. Until then, it was just something I did to get my own gratification. After I watched that video, I had a change of heart. I never really understood how much it would hurt to be cheated on. Or how expensive it could be, she added, glancing at Nikki. Thanks to you, I'm not the same woman I was 10 years ago. I'm glad to hear that, Kirsten, I said. Take care of yourself, Ned, she said, giving me a hug. And take care of my former brother-in-law, she told Brenda, hugging her. Count on it, Brenda said, hugging her back. We left and went back to the car. You all right? Brenda asked as we buckled our seat belts. Yeah, I'm fine, I said as I started the car. Karma. I guess it really can come back to haunt you, I thought as I headed home. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.